Hi everyone, this is Congresswoman Yasamin Ansari. After a long day, we have arrived in El Salvador. I am here with several of my colleagues to demand that Donald Trump release Kilmar Albergo Garcia.
Well, this is actually happening. 4 Democrats, not from the state of Maryland, have flown down to El Salvador to demand the release of Mr. Kilmar from his El Salvadorian prison. Robert Garcia of California, Maxwell Alejandro Frost of Florida, Yasmin Ansari of Arizona, and Maxine Dexter of Oregon. So here we go.
Albergo Garcia, union member, Maryland man who was wrongfully detained and deported, has never been convicted of a crime, and who the United States Supreme Court has ruled 9-0 unanimously the United States must facilitate his return. Last night, I had a town hall in my district where a woman came and said her son, who is Salvadoran, they are scared to travel this summer because what if what happened to Kilmar Garcia happens to them? If there's not due process for Kilmar, there will be no due process for anyone. We want to make sure that Kilmar is still alive. We want to make sure that he has access to counsel. We want to make sure that the United States does what it's supposed to do, follow the Supreme Court of the United States and release him. And we are here fighting for the future of our democracy.
Now here's where things get interesting. You may have noticed she talked about how she held her own town hall meeting. This is because right now, Congress, they're not in session this week as I film this video. They're supposed to be back home and taking care of things locally, whether it's fundraisers, whether it's talking to the people, figuring out what members of Congress need to do and then bring it back to Washington. Nope, these members of Congress said, we're gonna go to another country. Furthermore, the man that they're trying to release is not even going to be brought back to their state because his family is in Maryland. So keep that in mind.
Well, first, there's no question that I think public pressure, the senator going down to El Salvador, the fight that people are pushing back on in Congress and on this action are actually working. Public opinion is on the side of this release. And because this is an issue that's broader than just immigration, this is about a president defying the courts. And I think that is a fire alarm, red alarm moment in this country. We have worked really hard as Democrats in the House. We are trying to get an official delegation to El Salvador to continue and support the senator's work. What the senator did was the right approach. We've got to go down and continue to build public sentiment. And look, it's not just about Kilmar. There are other people that are in that prison in El Salvador that have not had due process. There's a young gentleman named Andrew, who is a makeup artist, a hairstylist, who was sent down there. He was in the process of claiming asylum, actually went through the asylum process, has been sent to this prison. He's openly gay. And no one in his circles have any idea why he is down there. He's done nothing illegal. There's been no judge has actually accused him of doing anything. And he's trapped in that prison in El Salvador. They are going to come for U.S. citizens next if we don't stop this now.
Could that be a Logan Act violation? Because he in no way, shape, or form, even though he's in the U.S. government, he did not have the approval of the U.S. government to go down there and negotiate the release of a prisoner.
It's very possible, but at something that's even bigger than that is he looks like an utter fool, because now the information's coming out about this guy. Obviously, yes, he was in the country illegal. His wife was saying he was an abusive person. He was hanging out with MS-13 gang members when he got picked up, and he's down in El Salvador trying to negotiate a release. This is the buffoonery of the Democratic left. It's the reason they were boat raced last November. It's the reason they will continue to lose. How about a U.S. senator actually stand up for the American people, the rule of law, actually securing our borders and sending people home who do not belong in our country? I wish he would spend his time doing that, as opposed to going down to El Salvador to prove to all Americans that he's a fool.
Okay, so here's your warning. If you're drinking anything or eating anything, you might want to put it down because you are going to burst out laughing. Here we go. This document right here is from the House of Representatives Committee on Oversight and Government Reform. Basically, this letter is a response to the 4 members of government right now who are down in El Salvador. Let me read this letter to you because, again, it is so funny. I write in response to your letter on April 15th, requesting that I approve from the committee's budget official travel for you to visit to the country of El Salvador to meet with a foreign MS-13 gang member whose wife accused him of crimes and who is strongly suspected of human trafficking. It is absurd that you both displayed active hostility for over 2 years towards the committee's oversight of the Biden's border crisis and the consequences of millions of illegal aliens entering the country, yet now you are seeking travel at committee expense to meet with foreign gang members. You may be pleased to know that a Democrat Senator, Chris Van Hollen, was photographed just yesterday in El Salvador enjoying margaritas garnished with cherry slices with the foreign gang member your letter references. If you also wish to meet with him, you can spend your own money, but I will not approve a single dime of taxpayer funds for use on the excursion you have requested. Your request is denied.
And joining us now, Democratic Senator Chris Van Hollen of Maryland. He recently returned from a trip to El Salvador where he met with Kilmar Albergo Garcia. He's also a member of the Foreign Relations Committee. And Senator, Pope Francis's last words, final public remarks, focused on this theme. How much contempt is stirred up at times toward the vulnerable, the marginalized, and migrants, Francis wrote in a papal address delivered on Easter Sunday, yesterday, by a Vatican aide to the crowds gathered in St. Peter's Square. And here we are, you on, I guess, just back now from El Salvador, dealing with the issue of just one of the many people who have been forcibly removed, disappeared. I mean, some might even see it as a kidnapping. It's definitely not a deportation. Where does the plight of Kilmar Albergo Garcia stand now?
Well, you're very right. I read Pope Francis's remarks. He was a beautiful soul, a pope for all of humanity, and he focused on the most vulnerable and on natural rights, on the right of everybody to be free under the law. And the whole point here that we're making is that the Trump administration needs to respect the Constitution of the United States. When you threaten the rights of one man like Albergo Garcia, take away the rights of one man like Albergo Garcia, you threaten the rights for everybody. In this case, the Trump administration is flouting the law, because the Supreme Court on a 9-0 ruling said that they had to facilitate the return of Albergo Garcia. I was just down there, as you said. I met with them. The embassy, the Trump administration, is doing nothing right now to comply with that court order. What they're doing is trying to change the subject, as if you can't comply with the Constitution and fight gang violence. I've been fighting MS-13 longer than Donald Trump probably ever uttered the words. I put together an anti-gang task force in this Washington region, Maryland, Washington, Virginia. So the notion that fighting gangs requires that you shred the Constitution and deny people's rights is just the dangerous spin that Donald Trump is putting on all this.
Senator, good morning. Two-part question for you. First, just tell us a little bit about your visit. I know.
Okay, so I also found this very interesting clip where it looks like the senator is also talking about the prison system in El Salvador, how it's not great, how the prisoners don't have communication. I just find it rather interesting. While in America, we all know there probably should be a little more reform as far as our own prison systems, but this senator is trying to garnish support of the El Salvadorian prison system. I'll let the clip speak for itself.
On the inside, one of the recent deportees. What did Mr. Albergo Garcia tell you about the conditions inside? What is it like to sleep? How often are they let out of their cell? And have these men been given any kind of information about how long they will be incarcerated there?
So starting with your last question, one of the things about CCOT, which is this notorious prison in El Salvador, is that the prisoners there have no communication with the outside world. None. Not with their lawyers, not with their families, which in itself is a violation of international law. He told me that when he was first moved to CCOT, he was in a cell with about 25 other prisoners, that he wasn't scared about the other prisoners in his cell, but he was traumatized by the prisoners in other cells who taunted him. And these other cells were just packed with prisoners. He has been moved subsequently to a place with better conditions, but again, is in a total news blackout and unable to communicate with anybody. I was the first person he's communicated with, and to my knowledge, the last from the outside world. I'm working now to try to make sure that his wife can talk to him. That was his one request, other than seeking his freedom, was to be able to talk to his wife.
Again, this is my opinion. I'm curious how you guys feel about this. I don't know if the best approach is talking about the prison system conditions when we know in the United States, the prison system conditions are not that great over here too. So I don't know if you're going to garnish support of trying to help a non-American citizen when I don't know the status of this senator as far as his prison reform views. I don't know if he's ever tried to fix some issues we have in America, but I will just leave it at that. I think you know what I'm saying.
The president swore to the American public he was going to deport illegal criminals, and especially those who have been involved in violent gangs like MS-13 that have terrorized American communities. And so to the Democrat Party, who thinks that they are going to bring this foreign terrorist back to the United States of America to live a peaceful and happy life, that is never going to happen. Not only is this an MS-13 gang member, but he is also an illegal alien who broke our nation's laws to come here. And not only is it a slap in the face to the American citizens whose lives who have been put in danger or in many cases lost at the hands of these illegal alien criminal gang members, but it's also a slap in the face to the millions of legal immigrants who came to our country the right way, waited their turn, and paid their dues. We have a legal immigration system for a reason. The president is going to continue to uphold that. The president...
No, I appreciate that question. No, look, he's a fake. I know him. I know them all. They're all fake. And they have no interest in that prisoner. That prisoner's record is unbelievably bad. If you would go into the room, you might, if you would, Caroline, maybe go into the room and see if you can find that little slip. I wrote some things down. I don't know why you'd want to keep them, but we got a little biography of him.
Did you help set up that?
Not a very innocent guy.
Did you help set up that
on the IRS, Mr. President? In the spirit of Easter Sunday. And
while we're on the subject, right?
Yes, of course.
So you're talking about Albergo Garcia? Is that the one? Yeah. Is an illegal alien, MS-13 gang member and foreign terrorist. This comes out of the State Department and very legitimate sources. I mean, I assume I'm just giving you what they handed to me, but this was supposed to be certified stuff. In 2019, Garcia was issued a deportation order. 2 separate judges affirmed Garcia was a member of MS-13, which is a gang that may be even worse than Tren de Aragua, and maybe worse. They kill people with knives because it's more painful. Very famous for...
Alright, if you are still watching this video, I really appreciate it. So this is currently what's going on right now as far as these members of Congress down in El Salvador. I don't have any other updates as I make this video. I'm sure we will get more and more home footage of these embarrassing clips of the demand of somebody who doesn't belong to the United States to come back to the United States. I just also want to point out, none of these members of Congress have any jurisdiction over another country. Just throwing that out there. Anyway, thank you guys so much for everything. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you all later. God bless and peace.